All right, so we are going to continue on. This is video 2 of chapter 2, the crime scene. So we talked about in our last video the 7 S's of the crime scene. And so here we have some thermal imaging of the alleged Boston bomber hiding in a boat. So there was like a days-long search for the Boston bomber. And so they used some aerial heat thermal imaging to find the suspect as he was hiding. Okay, so the paper bindle is an ideal for packaging small trace evidence. So I'm going to show you quickly how to package a paper bindle. So let me check out my purple page. Notice I'm coordinating my colors today. This is also called the druggist's fold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold in my paper. So I'm holding, hopefully I can see, you can show it like this. So I'm going to fold it into the center. Right, so I'm going to fold it like this. Now I'm going to fold it over like this. Right, so now I have that like this. So it's like origami for forensics. Right, so now if I open that up, so now you can see I have like three columns, right? And so then now what I can do is I do the same thing. I want to get that square in the middle. So I fold over like this. And then I want to fold over. Should probably go a little bit more towards the center. You want to try to get that towards the center. I use kind of thick paper here. The paper that they would use isn't really that thick. And then I would fold over the center here. Right, so then now when I open that up, right, so now I have my druggist fold. I can place my, piece of evidence. So maybe it'll be this bottle cap. I'm just taking something that's off my desk. And I can place that in here. I can fold this all up. And then that gets placed into a paper bag. And we like to use things as much as possible that are breathable so that we don't end up with the decay of evidence. So you would never put like wet blood evidence in a Ziploc bag, right? One of the problems of the O.J. Simpson case was they ended up storing that blood in a car, in a container for, hours on a, hot California sunshiny day. So it ended up, you can degrade evidence that way. So then across the seal, right, of the plastic, right, they're going to put tape, and then the detective is going to sign across that seal. And so now that's going to indicate, so it's going to be part of the chain of custody. So now the next person who's going to get that evidence has to cut through a different spot, and then they'll reseal it and re-sign it. So you always know where somebody interacted with a piece of evidence. This becomes important in a court of law. So again, this is what I talked about earlier. Here's our original, right? So now the next detective who's going to analyze this evidence, or forensic scientist, needs to cut in a different spot, and now they're going to reseal it, and then now they're going to sign. So now we have two signatures, two different seals that indicate that both of these people have interacted with this piece of evidence. And this is also logged on a formal log within the police department. So when we're analyzing the crime scene, we have to make sure that we're searching in a logical and systematic way. You don't want to just like randomly walk around because you're going to miss evidence that way. So when you're very purposeful and systematic, you're going to be able to pick up on the evidence because you're following a very specific pattern. And you'll notice it's like kind of like up and down. So this is what's called a grid search. We have a linear search, quadrant or zone, and then a spiral search. And of course, depending on what type of scene and the size of the scene would determine what type of search pattern that you would use. Right? A quadrant or zone search would be a much larger crime scene than if you were to try to do like, a grid or a spiral. So outdoor scenes are going to need to be mapped, and we need to have data points and sub-data points. Right? So we're going to create what we call a border, right? You're marking the evidence limits, right? You want to make sure that you've included all the possible evidence, and then you want to make sure that your area is large enough so that you can still include it for different areas. And then you're going to mark those with posts, and you're going to put the crime scene tape outside there. And you're going to want to make sure that you're measuring so that you know the perimeter